Alright, so quick video here, and I'm going to do a little like a subscriber question because one of my subscribers has asked me a question about his 550 cavitating and not getting any water flow. So I'm just going to quickly address that, and hopefully we can help him out and everything will be cool. So he says that when running on the garden hose, everything's good and it stays cool, and then you put it in the water and it doesn't get any water flow and the pump's cavitating. So there's a couple things that can cause cavitation. Now, I have a 550 pump here, stock impeller, and then an aftermarket impeller with some good damage on it. So one thing that can cause cavitation is if you put silicone around your ride plate, then that will cause your pump to cavitate, because for some reason those gaps in the ride plate were put there so it helps prevent cavitation. I don't really know exactly how it works, but that's the case. So no silicone around the perimeter of the ride plate, and if you really want to, you can put it on top of the actual bolt heads so that they don't back out, but other than that, no silicone anywhere on the ride plate. So that's one easy fix, that if you're having cavitation issues, that could be one solution. And then another solution, or another thing that can cause cavitation, is it's not as prevalent in the 550 pumps, but in the 440 pumps, where you get many more revolutions, you get a lot more RPM out of the 440 pumps. So someone who is running a similar setup to me, and my max RPMs, I have not actually hit or taken my max RPM on my new build, but I would guess the thing max RPMs around 7,200 to 7,500. The thing, it screams pretty good, so that's my guess. And someone that was running a similar setup on a 440 drive line was spinning about 9,000 RPM. So the RPMs go up, you're moving more water. If you're moving more water than you can get into the pump, that's going to cause cavitation. That can be caused by having an impeller pitch that is too low. So let's say the stock impeller, I believe, is a 17 pitch, but it's a piece of garbage because it's a cast aluminum and it's thick and it's just is not very efficient. You have one of these stainless impellers. This is an aftermarket scat track. And as you can see with the scats, it says 5, so that means it's a 15 pitch. So 5.5 is 15.5, 6, 16, so on. So that's your impeller for a scat track. Now, there's also impellers that are, let's say, I don't even know because I don't really use them, so I don't know, but let's say like 13, 17, like with a slash in the middle. That means that it's like a tapered pitch. So that's the Solus impellers, or Solas, however you pronounce that. But those are the impellers that have different pitches on the impeller. This is called the straight pitch impeller, Scat Track straight pitch. And then the Solus ones have like a stepped pitch. So that's kind of the deal with impeller pitch. Now, with a 550 pump, the best impellers are 15 and 15.5 straight, and I really can't give you a recommendation with the Solus impellers because I don't feel like getting into them, and they have like a boot at the top. I don't like having the boot up there, and they're harder to get off and stuff, so I just don't mess with them. But I mean, I'm sure you can find stuff online about that. But so the lower the number, that means you're going to get more low end punch. The higher the number, you're going to get more top end, less low end. So it goes both ways. So it's all about what you want. But you don't want to have an impeller that's too low of a pitch, or else once again you can move too much water and actually cause cavitation. With the 550 pumps, it really doesn't happen because these things you throw a 15, and I have basically my engine maxed out, modified. I mean, I could run a timing advance, a couple tiny modifications, but it's basically maxed out, and I have a 15 impeller on it, and the thing hauls. So no cavitation issues, nothing like that. So that's really the lowest pitch you want to go. So as long as you're not siliconed around the ride plate, and then another thing about siliconing, you want to silicone all the way around the pump shoe here. If you don't silicone this completely to the hull, when you take it out and then put it back in and you don't seal this up completely, you can have cavitation issues. And then another way you can have cavitation issues, this pump is actually a very nice pump, but this clearance between the impeller and the wear ring, if there's too much clearance there, that will cause cavitation. It will let water past it, and that can be another really good cause of cavitation, because especially with worn out pumps, you might have never touched your pump and it's cavitating because the gap between the impeller and wear ring has gotten to be too much, and now it has lost efficiency. So that's another way that your pump can end up cavitating. And then this, I believe, well, this is the impeller that was on my stock ski, and it's not in terrible condition, but I mean, as you can see, the edges are a little roughed up here, and then it seems to have sucked up something and took a rock around here and got a little dent in it. But the cavitation is right there. As you can see, there's like, the aluminum is like pitted all right here, and that, I believe, is cavitation damage. It usually happens inside of here. And if your impeller looks like it's pitting like this, really bizarre, and it's not like giant chunks out of it, that probably means that you're having cavitation issues. So it's really important to fix that as soon as possible before the impeller is permanently damaged. Now, Impros, you can look them up. They do impeller repair. They repitch impellers, not stock impellers. It has to be an aftermarket stainless. But they have new impellers, and you know, give them a call if you need an impeller. They can help you out, give you recommendations. So they're a good resource if you're kind of starting out and you need a new impeller. You can send out your old impeller or repitch an impeller. So let's say you have a 17, you want a 15, they can repitch it, all that good stuff. So that's a good resource is Impros. Now this is clearly not, and it does not have any cavitation damage on it, but as you can see, it has sucked up quite a bit and has caused a lot of damage. So this isn't necessarily going to make it cavitate. It can, but this is more of just loss of efficiency of the impeller. So that's just what damage looks like, and I would never ever run this. I just got this in a pump that I bought for an extra pump and pulled it, saved it, and figured I'd maybe put a video up on it later. So it's kind of serving its purpose right now. So that's your aftermarket impeller, stock impeller. In here is a Scat 17. I figured I would save it and maybe use it in one of my builds later or something. I don't know. I just wanted an extra pump just in case. So that's kind of what your cavitation issues can be. And if your cavitation problem is extreme enough, then it can actually cause you to get no flow because you aren't pushing enough water to actually get the cooling system to fill. So that's starting there. So I am reading off my phone, so I'm going to take a little pause here and just get up to speed on where I am on the question now. Yes, so that looks like that's the end of his question. So just a quick recap. Check your siliconing on your pump. No silicone on the ride plate except for on the head bolts. Not the head bolts, the head of the bolts. If you have crazy damage like this, definitely replace or send the impeller to be fixed. If you've got like pitting around the inside of the impeller, you're definitely have cavitation. And make sure you can shine a flashlight through here and actually look at the clearance. And the clearance should be so close that on my pump that I put together that I replaced this stock impeller with a perfect condition 15, the clearance was so close that it was actually barely rubbing the ring at one spot. Like you hear a little ting, like as you spun it by hand. So that is a really good way to know that your clearance is close. So when you pull off your impeller, there's going to be these big washers in there, and those are spacers. So as they're shims. So as the wear ring comes out, it starts to shrink. So the more you push the impeller out, the smaller the wear ring is going to get. So let's say you have a little bit of a clearance issue. Pull your shoe off, pull your impeller, put another shim or two on there, put it back on, you know, tighten it all down, make sure that you got it all correctly tightened down, and then check your clearance again. Spin it. If it's barely touching, that's fine. Or if the clearance is like extremely tight with a flashlight, then that's going to be good. So that's a way to fix your clearance. So that's what I would start with. If you're not getting flow, he says he's getting flow off the hose, but not in the water. So that is, to me, and he says that it's cavitating very badly. So that to me says you've got so much cavitation that the pump cannot pump the cooling system full of water. But when you put it on the hose, it does get water. So that means that you don't have a clogging the cooling system. So the only way that your cooling system could be not functioning correctly is if you have a lot of cavitation issues. So give that a try. Do these things. Feel free to ask any more questions I can try to answer. I just wanted to make a video on this one because it was a pretty loaded question, and I did not want to have anything unclear, because sometimes with the messaging it's not easy when you don't have anything to visually see. So that's that, and this will be kind of like my first subscriber question video, and feel free to drop any questions, comments, and suggestions in the comment section, and I'll try to hit videos if they need them. And thanks for subscribing. Tell your friends if they like jet skis or they're interested in vintage jet skis, because we're going to be giving as many tips as possible, and we're going to keep these things on the water. So I'll see you guys in the next one.